So I didn't know I had a mental health issue. I was first diagnosed with clinical depression and anxiety. Eventually, we found out it was bipolar. Now, my mom, typical Igbo woman, she was like, oh, close the gate, oh, my daughter is running mad. I got into terrible relationships because I was looking for love. But then in the part of trying to heal, I realized that it wasn't just love I was looking for. I was looking for validation. I remember flinging that laptop away. I carried the pillow that was there and I threw at them. I started to feel uncomfortable because I felt I was not safe enough for my baby, because why would I throw something at a newborn? I always say I'm such a my husband girl, because that man he's been a lot for me. Okay, I don't know why I'm crying.
I had seen an Instagram post that let me know that I wanted to speak with this woman because of how bold, authentic, original she is and her story is. She is a petroleum engineer, a mental health advocate, and the founder of Olama Cares. She, of course, creates communities where women can feel safe, seen, heard, and get support in life, as well as with issues concerning mental health. I'm talking about Chioma Fakorede.
Chioma Fakorede is a petroleum engineer, a mental health advocate, and the founder of Olama Care Foundation, a community that offers compassion and a safe space for those in need. She's also a wife, a mother, and a woman who has faced real challenges but continues to share a powerful story of resilience, healing, and God's grace. Today, Chioma Fakorede is seated at his right hand with Olive Emodi.
Good day. Good to have you.
Hey.
Welcome
Thank
to At His
you.
Right Hand.
Thank you very much. Such a pleasure being here.
It's such a pleasure to meet you. And I was saying that I had spent a number of minutes on your page, and I was very inspired by how very outspoken you have been about mental health. But before we get into the mental health conversation, I want to know what Chioma Mosu was before you became Chioma Fakorede. What was Chioma like? Who is Chioma? What were the things that you hoped to do? Was mental health ever a part of the picture? When they asked you as a child, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Okay, so I think I've been Fakorede for a while now, 5 years. So
yes,
that's
a while.
an identity I had to battle with for a while. Mostly because it's not just getting married. I got married to a politician, an active politician. And so I had to learn a few things. Identity changes. I had to smile when I didn't want to smile. I had to be good when I didn't want to be good. But then aside that, so Chioma is just really a plain girl. I classify myself as a genius. I don't know, I think I'm just living that identity these days. I've been in mental health space for 10 years. So 5 years of it has been married, 5 years achieving the greatness that it is now that people see. So I didn't know I had a mental health issue. I had started my NGO because, I started out as autism, and I felt it was a place where people didn't talk about. I had a boy in church who had seen, and people used to stare at him funny, and I'm like, see, the story is long, Sha. I started as autism, but eventually I had a group of parents who had children with autism. They were over 100. And one day, parents would go off, oh, my mother-in-law says I'm a witch because I have a child with autism, or this, that. And then it just occurred to me, I'm like, please, who is taking care of these children who is taking care of these parents that are taking care of the children? And that kind of just spurred that part that we needed, because these people were dealing with their mental health.
How did you meet these parents, these 100 parents?
See, it's a story for another day. So I'm very, very vocal. I talk about the things I do. When I put work, or when I'm passionate about something. So sometimes, things just, you attract those people, those things. And when I started, people will come to me and say, oh, I have this issue. They'll talk to me and all that. I think one of my superpowers, as I always say, is that, I don't know, for some reasons, people are very comfortable around me. They tell me things that even ordinarily they won't tell people. I have friends coming to me and say, oh, I think I'm going to get a divorce. Nobody has said about it. And I have a lot of secrets in my head that I don't know if I have any business knowing, but somehow people just feel very drawn to me. So that's how those people came. And then it just started the whole mental health part of it, where I would organize events, parents, leave your children outside. We'll get funding from people. I'll take them out. So we did a couple of those maybe twice in a year, and we'll just allow them to unwind. And then doing all that, I started to get funding. And I remember when I figured that I was going through something myself, I just got a grant and I was about to host this very big event on autism. And one Sunday, as we're getting ready for church, on a Sunday like this, I was still with my parents, and then the next thing, I just blew up. And I was crying and hyperventilating and shaking, and I'm such a daddy's girl. So my dad, I ran downstairs, I wanted to pick up my key, and my dad is like, oh, Chioma, what's going on? And I'm like, I just want to run out. My mom, typical Igbo woman, she was like, oh, close the gate, oh, my daughter is running mad. And it was just a lot, and my dad sat me down, and then he started to ask me questions, just calm down. The episode happened for over an hour. And, is it money? Is it this? I'm like, no, it's not money. I just got money. I couldn't explain what exactly was happening.
And was that the first time that was happening?
That was the first time. So normally you would feel overwhelmed, you feel this, you feel that, but that was the first time. And I now realized, because I was working there as an assistant, and I'm very, very detailed, I'm very down to the T. I realized that I was making little mistakes. Maybe when I send an email, I'll forget to add the salutation. When I just funny things that I wouldn't normally do, that my boss would call me out and be like, Chioma, you didn't even greet the person, you didn't send this, you didn't send that, you made a mistake. So for a while, all that was happening, but I just felt maybe it's just part of it. Maybe I'm just not concentrating. And then that whole episode happened, and I reached out to someone who connected me to a psychologist, and I had my assessment, and I was actually diagnosed with clinical depression and anxiety first. And that was kind of like
we'll come back to this one. Let's dial back to the point of being diagnosed with clinical anxiety and depression. Was that as an adult as well, or was that in childhood?
Yes, so I was 23. So that was when I was first diagnosed.
What led to the diagnosis?
So I had the episode. It was that episode of hyperventilation. I was having a panic attack. I didn't even know what panic attacks was, because as I said, I wasn't even in mental health space. I was just in a neurological disorder space, and I was doing things for parents, but I didn't even understand that I was going through that myself. So it was just, that episode just made me, you're always telling everybody to go and seek help. You too, maybe you go and seek your own help. And that was how I went to the doctor, and then I did my whole diagnosis, and I was diagnosed with clinical depression and anxiety. So yeah, that's how that started.
Okay. As a child, what kind of child were you? What kind of childhood did you have? What was your background like?
Okay, so it was up until when this whole thing, because I'm sure we'll go to that. I was first diagnosed with clinical depression and anxiety. Eventually, we found out it was bipolar, because with bipolar, you have a lot of similar symptoms that look like depression, but they're actually not depression. So how we found that out was that I'll get better after a while. After 2 months, I'll come back again. I'm depressed. So bipolar is that you keep going back into that depressive. So I have bipolar II, which is that I actually see the depressive mode more than the high mode. So bipolar 1, you are more up there, but bipolar 2, you're down there. So that was how that. And then it made me go back to childhood, when I used to throw a lot of tantrums. And my dad, he used to annoy me, because my dad would say, oh, Chioma, you're so erratic. And I hated that word, erratic. I hated being called erratic. So it was only till I found out that I had bipolar that I realized I now joined everything. I was like, okay, so this is the whole being erratic thing that, so till today I hate being called erratic, but yeah, that was it. But I had a pretty decent childhood. And it always gets me back whenever I'm telling people, I'm like, sometimes our struggles are different. A lot of people believe that when you have a mental health problem, or whenever you're going through stuff, you must have something. Do you get? There must be. Yeah, I went through my own fair share of different type of trauma. In fact, my trauma is very interesting, because, for example, I've always been the A1, I have to overachieve at very high functioning. And I was telling someone even yesterday that I remember getting second position in primary school, and they got me a lesson teacher. And till today, I can never, in fact, when I started my first therapy, it was one of the things I said, because that already, and again, being a parent now, I kind of try to understand some of the things that my parents did, because at the end of the day, they're parents, they want the best for you, and everything is like, no, nothing below standard and everything, so that somehow has shaped me in such a way that I didn't even know how to rest. I'm intentionally trying to rest now. A lot of things that I do, I'm just like, what, just calm down and just chill. Like, the world will wait for you regardless. So decent, beautiful family, loving family. My dad was always there. I always say I have mommy issues, and people laugh. But it's not the bad kind of mommy issues. My mom is the perfectionist. She wants us to look a particular way. She wants us to. So there was a time I went rogue because I cut my hair. My mom is girly girl, make your long hair, dress. And she used to sell clothes. She wants you to be that girl that when you go out, everybody's, and I'm like, please, I don't have the energy. She's like, you don't used to iron your clothes. Yeah, please, you iron like your father and everything. So, you're just that kind of thing that, for some people is nothing, right? And again, as I say, I never trivialize anybody's experience because, some people might have gone through abuse and all that. I didn't go through all that, but it's just little things like trying to be perfect, trying to be this, that somehow shaped the way I was and may have affected some of the things that I do.
And how has that shaped you as a parent?
So I'm very intentional. I think one of the beautiful things that has happened in my journey is healing and even awareness. I tell people that whenever I go to see my psychiatrist, he always says, one thing I like about you, Chioma, is that you're very self-aware. So if I'm reporting, I say, oh, this person did this to me, I'm telling him, and I also did that to the person. Do you get? So I've always been in a place where, I rationalize everything. Why did I react this way? Is this thing causing me to project? Is this, do you get? So, and it didn't happen overnight. There were a lot of things that shaped. So, for example, I entered wrong relationships. I loved love. I love to love. I love love. I'm such a lover girl. Yes. And then I got into terrible relationships because I was looking for love. But then in the part of trying to heal, I realized that it wasn't just love I was looking for. I was looking for validation. And that stems into even the mommy and daddy trauma that I was saying. Because, for example, I had my dad who would always validate me. I feel my dad is always there. I had my mom who is always like, you need to step up. You need to do this. You need to do that. So at the back of my head, there's a parent whom, and it's not her fault. Because
yes,
she never did it. She did it in love. Truly, my mom did it. We're so close. She did it so much in love. She wanted you to be perfect and everything. But somehow I'm that child maybe who was overly sensitive. Maybe that kind of thing affected. And then, for me, it's kind of like I started looking for relationships that would validate that part that I felt I didn't get from my mom, again, which isn't a bad thing because she didn't do it out of spite or trying to be. It wasn't even in any way, it wasn't malicious, it wasn't in anything. Just
in their time, they didn't have the kind of resources that we have now
to know that,
understand patterns and how parenting. I mean, parenting, I think, is easier for us now because there are materials and there are resources and people are more open to share.
So there are things that I don't tell my child. There are things that I don't tell my children. Even when I have some money. So one of the things my husband taught me that I don't tell my child what is wrong with you. I ask him what's the matter. So if he comes crying to me and my child can be naughty sometimes, and then he comes and the next thing maybe someone will be like, oh, what did you do? I say, don't ask him what he did because you don't even know the situation before time. Ask him what happened. Do you get? So it's little things like that. And then I've realized that people around me are learning. My friend would tell me, my best friend, she'll tell me, because she can be very, and I'm like, when I'm around him, if people like, you can continue that thing you're saying, when I'm around, please don't use those words. So she's also being intentional with the way she talks to her kids. My siblings, my sister too has a child. Her child is 6 months younger, so they're like twins. And then they know, once Chioma is around, just don't say anything that I don't want to hear because try to say, because I always say, whatever you can't tell a child, whatever you can't tell yourself, don't tell a child. My husband and I have raised, my son is 3 years old and then I have an 8-month-old. And we always say we'll talk to him, since we gave birth to him, we talk to him like he's an adult. So if I know that something would upset me, why do I have to tell that to a child? Why do I have to make that child? So we talk to him like an adult.
That's such a good lesson. And even as an adult, I'm picking that in terms of how to relate with children, not just saying, what did you do? But saying, what is the matter? I think that's a good lesson. I want to now dial forward back. What was that English? Let's now go to the point where you had then found out that it was bipolar disorder. How did you take that information? Because you put up a post sometime in 2024 on your Instagram where you said, I hate living with bipolar disorder. What does it feel like?
Okay. As much as I'm very open about my journey with mental health and bipolar and all that, it's been a lot of struggle. Number one, because I'm in a space where my husband is a politician. He's actively serving. He was former commissioner, now executive advisor. Hopefully, by God's grace, will be a governor. And one of the things that I feared a lot, and I always say maybe God brought us together because the way we met, we dated in 1 month. He proposed. Everything shall happen in 4 months. Also,
That's another conversation I love.
Everything happened in 4 months.
Wow.
And, I always say that if we had dated, I don't think I will marry you because, you know, being married to politics is a different ball game entirely. It's not the normal, your husband goes to work. You can be sleeping. The governor will call him by 2 a.m. You need to be on the road. In fact, on our wedding day, he had to go and vote because there was local government elections. My husband didn't get to us by 4 p.m. on the day we were getting married because on his way back from his constituency, they were fighting and he had to take another road. So, see, already it's kind of like you just have to get used to the system, that it's a system that is not, anything can happen. So, being able to share my journey, I think one of the things that gives me hope or helps me is the fact that every time I share, I get a lot of people saying, no, thank you. Thank you that you've shared. Thank you that, you know, I'm going through this whole thing. And as I said, I have a lot of secrets that I have no business having, being open to, really, because people just share. But then sometimes it's bad rage. Sometimes it's depressive faces when I just want to be alone. Sometimes it's a lot of tears. Sometimes it's attempting suicide. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
Of course you are.
There was something, and I posted it, that my husband did the last time that I attempted. So usual, I'll go and take bleach, and one day I carried it and he just started laughing, and I was like, what is it? Apparently he had poured it out and put water inside, and it's like, it's not me, you will leave here. So at the back of my head, and I'm thankful, I always say I'm such a my husband girl, because that man he's been a lot for me. Okay, I don't know why I'm crying.
It's okay.
Anyway, and one of the things, when I got married to him, or when we first met, we met in 1 week. We had an award, the Future Awards. I was nominated, he was nominated too as well. I was nominated for health and wellness, and he was nominated for governance. And I don't know, the man was eyeing me. I had a job to go around Nigeria doing mental health, and I had to come to Oyo State, and that was how we started talking. And in 1 week, you know, I told him, I'm like, oh, all this stuff, please, where is this ending? Because me, where's it heading to? Because I don't have energy for all this, what's your favorite color and what's your best food? One of the things I asked him when we first met was, see, I have this thing I'm dealing with. Is this something that you can manage? Because it's not something that can be treated, or it's not something that, you know, that tomorrow it will go. And my husband said yes. And so we got married. I remember the first fight that we ever had around it. It was on our honeymoon. We were in the Maldives. And during that period, I was just everywhere. I didn't know. It was just a lot. And I remember, and he mentioned, he said to me, and he was like, is this what I have to deal with for the rest of my life? And I remember I burst out crying. And I told him, I said, you know what? If it was cancer, and I told him, I said, first of all, I told him, this is the most insensitive thing I've ever heard you say. Because normally you're very sensitive, and then imagine if I had cancer, it's physical. And then somehow they say, oh, I'm well now and everything, and it starts to come back again. Would you say this is what I have to deal with? So why do you think that you have to make the same statement? Because it's something that you don't see. So every time you believe that I have to be okay because physically I look okay, but you don't know what is going on in my heart. And we had a long conversation about it. And I guess that just found him in some way, and he's never made such a statement again. He's been very helpful. I gave birth to my first child, and so I was just going through life. I didn't even know that it would affect me. And then after having my first baby, first week, everybody's so cute, and I'm like, what's wrong? People should please just take this baby away from me. I couldn't lactate. It was just a whole lot. Eventually, I found out that I was having postpartum depression, anxiety, and psychosis.
So just a bit of explanation for postpartum depression, anxiety, and psychosis.
So when you've had a baby, there are a couple of women that feel a couple of things. So for example, they don't have that love that you're feeling for your child. They don't want to be around the child. They are down. Typically they're not themselves. They are not the normal way they would be. And there's baby blues. Baby blues happen within 2 weeks. You're over
sleep
it.
deprived.
Yeah, you just don't feel okay because you just gave birth to a baby. However, even with general mental health issues, once you start seeing that those symptoms show up 2 weeks and above, it's time to get help. So typically anything that is persistent, so first day, second day, third day, fourth day, till the 14th day, you're still feeling that way, then that's time to get help. So I wasn't loving my baby. I wasn't, and then worse still, I was lactating. I was having issues with lactation. So it was just a lot. I was just not in the mood. I had my mother-in-law and my mother in the same house. And I'm like, please, people will not kill me. My mother every day, come and take off a salad, did this, breast that. I'm like, please. My mother-in-law, oh, she's on her own too. Maybe she take this medication. And it was just a whole lot. Eventually, sometimes I would just lose it. I remember that there was actually an issue. And every time I see that picture, it just gets me in a way, because my husband had just come back. He came back late, 12 a.m. as usual. He's a politician, and then in fact, we even shot an Instagram reel that night. So whenever I see that video, it just brings me some sort of memory. We did this video with my child and all, and after that we just started to have a conversation. The baby was with him on the bed, and I was with my laptop. I remember flinging that laptop away. I carried the pillow that was there and I threw at them. And when everything started to happen, I started to feel uncomfortable, because I felt I was not safe enough for my baby, because why would I throw something at a newborn, And I don't know, for the longest time I lived with guilt of being a mother, because it's like, okay, am I even, you have this rage and this thing that is going on with you. Is your baby safe around you? Eventually, that whole thing at 8 months led to me being in the psychiatric hospital, because I attempted suicide. This was around 2022, October ending, and they had to rush me to the psychiatric hospital. In fact, that was when my child stopped breastfeeding, because he didn't see me for 5 days. I was admitted for 5 days in the psychiatric hospital. And I also found out that I was insomniac. I've always known I had insomnia, but the doctor said he gave me the highest dose, and I was busy walking up and down this thing, talking to all the nurses and everybody. My husband was there by my side, my mother-in-law. I'm so thankful for the family that I got married to. Marry your friend, don't marry your enemy. Marry a man that their family loves you too, because that would be a game changer. I remember my father came he was leaving Ibadan, and then he heard I was in the hospital and he ran back. As usual, my dad always shows up. So that was kind of like a turning point for me, and see, my story around mental health has been a lot. But again, as I always say, I'm just very thankful for the people around me, my support system, to be honest. My friends, my siblings, always showing up for me. My husband, I would not stop my husbanding, because I don't know, if I hadn't married him. I had a broken engagement, actually, from someone who has known me pretty much all my life. And then the moment I opened up and said, oh, you know what, I have this, let's go and see the psychiatrist. Eventually, a week later, it's like, I don't know if I want to do. And I'm like, oh, thank God you're not my husband, so that's good. So I married my own rib. So as he says, he carries his cross. And he always says to me that he thinks that this is God's way of teaching him patience, because my husband can be very impatient. But I realized that lately he's been very patient around me, because he's like, okay, please, let's just take it easy. What is it that you want? What will make you happy? So I'm the princess, so nobody stresses me.
I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy that you found your person, and that you were able to. I think so maybe I should go back to the point where you said to him that this is what I struggle with. Can you handle it? Were you telling him from a place of, I feel safe enough to share this with him? Or was it a place of, I need to protect myself in case this doesn't work? Or will you say it was both?
So I'm a sharer. I don't hide anything. From the onset, my mom would always say to me, she said, don't tell everybody everything, or you always share too much. A man will run away from you. And one of the things I always used to say is that when I find my own, the person will not run away. So I think I've always stuck to that, as I say, I love. Well, don't carry a man on your head. Don't love too much. No. I don't do all those don't. Because for me, if you're already putting your mind to the don'ts, then you're already you're already setting the path for it to even fail. So me, I'm not a don't person. I share, I overshare, I do this, I do that. So I don't think it was just a place of releasing myself. I don't want to, I'm never the kind of person who gets into anything and then, there's a part of me that you don't know. I'll tell you, this is how I am. Oh, I look for trouble, I'll do this, I'll do that. Can you get? And I put a post on it because I felt like, I had a girl who reached out to me and said, oh, I'm going through this mental health problem. People have broken up with me because of this. And this person I'm dating doesn't even know. And I said, it's manipulation. Allow the person to know you and make a choice. Because the moment you have to be the other person, like you have to be another way for the person to like you, then you've manipulated the person's decision. But if you are here, allow the person to make the
An
choice.
informed
Do you get an
decision.
informed decision whether they want to or not? Love is love, but love is not sweet. I said forever is too long to make a mistake. So allow the person to be sure that this is what.
So
they
would you
want to do
advise
with.
that one make such disclosure early enough, or give the person a chance to know you, understand you, before you reveal that? Because I think that's a bit of a situation that a lot of unmarried people
People go
have. It's like, do I tell them too early on the first date I could scare them away, or do I wait for them to get to know who I am and then I can share with them?
Maybe you're asking the most biased person, because me, I will tell you from the first day, oh, this is me. But I think there's also the place of discernment and kind of knowing who you are, and even the place of God in all this. Because already when you see somebody who is good and someone who would not judge you, and again, even if the person feels a certain way, it's okay for them to feel a certain way. Because sometimes, you know, you might tell somebody and they're like, okay, hold on, let me go and process it first and then come back. And it's okay. It doesn't mean that they are bad. Maybe they can't handle it. Maybe they can't handle it at that point. So for me, I believe, tell them, just as you are telling them your favorite food and your favorite color and all the things they used to ask when in the beginning, please add that one to it. Like me, I don't like to cook, so it was one of the things that I told from yourself. Please, you count how many times you catch me in the kitchen as we are married, you know, and it was, and all that. So yeah, I think for me, tell them from the onset.
All right. You talked about, I mean, since you've brought in the God element, let's go there. How were you, first of all, what has your relationship with God been like? Pre-mental health challenges, you know, with pre-depression, anxiety, bipolar, and now, what would you say the journey has been like?
So for me, I've always been maybe God-centered. I'm not a religious person, but I'm a very spiritual person. A lot of the things I do is formed around my core, which is God. And I'm not saying this from a place of, oh, go to church. In fact, there was a time in 2020 when I started my whole spiritual journey, because I've been in failed relationships. In fact, that period was so interesting. I'd been in failed relationships so much. It's like, I'll like this person, the person will come. When the person is beginning to like me, one thing will happen, everything will just, the same pattern. And I remember the last relationship that I was in, that was Corona. I'm always thankful for that period, even though I know that it was such a painful period. I think for me, it was just that life-changing, spiritually awakening type
COVID-19?
period. Yeah. It was such a beautiful period for me because it allowed me to know me and fight a lot of things that I have been pushing somehow. And I just finished a relationship, and I spoke to my psychiatrist, and I was like, please, why is it that this thing always, you know, this person just broke up with me? Is it because I have bipolar? And she asked me this question. She said, I don't think this is the question you should be asking yourself now. Ask yourself why these same patterns always happen all the time. And then till today, April, that stuck to me. I just sat down and I was like, why does this happen? The same thing in different people. And I realized every experience continues until you learn the lesson that you need to take. And from there, I just learned it. Why is it that different people, different bodies, but the same experience, the same thing that happens? Chioma, there's a lesson that you need to learn. And that was when I learned that, you know, I'm the kind of girl who seeks validation. I'm the kind of girl who is loving, but not loving myself. So I'm expecting people to fill me up when I've not filled myself up, you know. And then from there, I just decided, you know what, I'm going to go on a self-journey, self-this, self-that. Everybody, I think, at some point in their life, if you're aware, would go on that kind of journey, and it's always very wholesome. It's painful. There are a lot of tears. There are a lot of... But it's such a fulfilling journey eventually. And I always say healing is not linear. So it's one of the things I had to deal with, because it's like, oh, I healed that time, and then why am I still dealing with stuff? But forgetting that every time you're going through different phases, you're going through different identities, and then you would heal. So during that period, I just stopped dating. I was like, you know what, it's okay. Let me even know Chioma for Chioma, and stop knowing Chioma with tying herself to somebody else's identity. And that I just ended. I stopped going to church because I felt like I wanted to even know, let me even understand God as me being a God. I stopped. There are a lot of things that I just decided to do outside the four walls of anything. Like, let me just understand this. And in fact, that was how I even understood the meaning of my name. It's interesting. Nigerians, religion somehow has taken us away from our culture. And I'm such a big Igbo girl. I think being married to a Yoruba person too now has also helped me, because it's kind of like I'm infused with two cultures. How beautiful can that be? And, you know, in the olden days, everybody used to have a chi. Chi was like your lesser god, or the energy that guided you, or the vibration that guided you, whatever it is that you believe in. And then there was a big God, which is Chuku. And then they would say those days, if you were a bad person, Gina Chigi, like you and your God will judge you. That was how it was then. So if you had a good God, it was Chioma, that your God was good, your frequency, your aura, your vibration, everything that you attract is good. And for me, I started to see myself beyond even, our God is good, he's wonderful, but now Chioma as a person, as an entity. And from there, I started to even see like my journey, how God has removed me from certain things that I didn't need to be, put me in places that I had to be, and I realized that, and it draws back to even when I say people are so attracted to me, there's a reason why. It's because of the name, the prophetic thing on my head, where people believe that the energy that I carry is good, the frequency around me is good, I exude greatness, so people want to be around, that people feel safe when they are with me. So yes, my name Chioma means that.
My interpretation of that would be, when God created, in Genesis, when he created man, and he looked at man and said, he's good.
Exactly.
So God created you and looked at you and said, he's good. In the period when you found out that you were dealing with bipolar disorder, or you have to live with bipolar disorder, how did you marry that and the idea that God is good?
So, I had a discussion with my psychiatrist because I was finding it difficult to take medication. Best in advice was not taking advice. And then he would tell me how, there are some geniuses, and as I told you, I'm living in my genius era now. And he called a couple of people from Einstein and the rest of them. These people are geniuses and they have bipolar. He had to convince me enough to take in my medications, because it's always a battle. You have to live on medications all the rest of your life. You have to take therapy, and it's not cheap. Therapy and medication in Nigeria is very expensive. In fact,
so
I would let you know.
Everyday medication?
Yes.
Wow.
So even when I found out I was pregnant, luckily I had stopped taking medications for like 6 months, so I was in a safe place. You can't even take certain type of medications because of pregnancy, because that's how strong those medications are. And then I think for me, I always say I'm a soul-centered creative. So a lot of things I do it has to come from the soul. If it feels like I'm pushing it, like I'm having to. So recently I've been writing a lot. I love to write. And then when I feel like the pressure is too much and I'm just writing just so that I can gather the likes and everything, I'm like, please, social media is okay, I'm no more doing it again. Till I get back to that, my core, And for me, marrying God, and first of all, I think understanding that God made me in his likeness and his image, meaning that I'm a God too as well, has also helped me. I see the kind of things that I think about, even in a place of chaos. I always say that I have a book, I have a lot of things, and I write coordinated chaos. So it's like this chaos that is also arranged, but still chaotic. And I think that's God's hand in it. I see how I raise my children with so much intention. I'm such a good mother. And it's not a thing of, I'm trying to convince myself. Like, I see it every day, and then there's this fulfillment that I get when I see my kids, my son, how intentional he is, and I'm just like, oh, Chioma, you're doing a great job. And I think it's just God, because obviously going through everything that I have to go through and having to raise children, I've raised a 3-year-old. I'm a child myself. I'm still a baby. I'm still my daddy's baby.
You're a child of God too.
I'm a child of God too as well. So, having to do that, there's just so much. My husband, we've been through our interesting phase. You know how they say that the first 5 years is always a lot and blah, blah, blah. We've been through that phase. I think last year was that time where either it had to end or he had to just figure it out. And this my so-called love of my life, right? At the end of the day, that's why I always say, marriage is a long time to make a mistake, because even as I love my husband, there are times that I'm just like, I beg, what is this? God, it's me this, But at the end of the day, it's still all worth it. So seeing my marriage and how much it thrives, and, we're just there trying to make it work. That's God. Seeing my parents, my siblings, my friends, seeing the people around me, the women who come to me, even men as well. I don't know, I don't see any other greater thing than God working through me. And I always say that I'm carrying my purpose so well, because if I'm not there, then I can imagine how many destinies that would also be removed if, you know, I don't walk in my own purpose. So every single day I'm walking in my purpose, I'm walking in my light, because I know that I am shining light to other people too who have to walk in their own light. I also believe that my marriage is, I always say, we're partners in destiny. My husband would always say that God is turning politicians to be prophets or prophets to be politicians. You know, we always talk about how in life, you know, it's the bad people that are in politics. But why are you, as a Christian or a God-led person, allowing bad people to be there? Do you get? So these days we have to, if you know that you're God-centered, you're a God person, you're a spiritual person, then walk in that light and then guide his people to the paths of lightness or of light, if that makes any sense. You know, so a lot of the things that we do, even for people around us, we're intentional about it. We want to grow a generation where tomorrow, if he decides to be president of Nigeria or whatever it is that he feels he wants to be, there's that, like, you can look at him and you can look at us and look at my family and say, this is the kind of family that should be ruling a nation, if that makes any sense.
Do you worry about the fact that you're sharing openly, maybe in some way impacting his chances?
So, because I have a husband that will tell me to, he's such an enabler. We've had conversations around that. Oh, you're deep into politics. How do you feel about it? And he's like, Chioma, see, I'd rather have people, first of all, know the truth. I'd rather have people feel inspired by your story. We don't do wishy-washy in my house. It's like, take us as who we are. This is how we are. This is everything. So for me, I think the most important factor here is the person I'm married to. And if he is okay with it, then the world will be okay. And I think from sharing, I've also realized that people are not as bad as we make them seem. I share my stories and I always get positive. Like, the only time I had a negative was when I said I'm a housewife, and I had like 2 or 3 people who were trying to tell me, and that was it. And I deleted it because I'm like, if I have over 200 people who are saying this, then you're not the problem. Do you get? So
Yes.
I don't know. I think I've taken enough survey to understand that people would rather have authentic, people would rather have vulnerable, people would rather have real. Do you get? So it's okay. It's okay.
They'll be all right.
They'll be fine.
And,
when we get
at the end of the day, we must push against the status
Exactly.
quo, because we need people to understand that mental health should not just be at the back burner.
Exactly.
It's a very important conversation. And there are many people who have loved ones that are battling with anxiety, depression, panic attacks, and don't know how to get out of it. They don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. What would you say are the ways in which people can show up, and the things that people should not do when they have loved ones who are dealing with mental health challenges?
So the number one in Nigeria, it is well. Please, just calm down. We know it's well. But then again, I think aside even showing up, I think one of the things that we battle with in Nigeria now is now fashionizing mental health. So you see somebody who is very neat. Oh, I have OCD. Oh, I'm having mental mood swing. Oh, I'm bipolar. You don't even want to be in that situation. So just let's keep it, you know. But if you're going through stuff, there's help. NGOs are working tirelessly, and that's if you don't have a family, because it's difficult. People don't want to have the conversations. Even in my family, I know, as supportive as I had them, my parents, my mom, my dad, you know, it took a while before they got to the place where they would actually, and even till now, they still struggle, but you know that. So for me, it's just being able to talk to them in such a way, educate them, because a lot of people are speaking from a place of ignorance, you know. So if you can even educate those people that you're trying to get help from, that would be nice. If you can get people who they would listen to, that would be nice. But besides that, if you don't get support, please, there are people that are willing to listen to you. People like me, my DMs are always open. I tell people, if you want to get through to me, just come to my Instagram. I'm always available to chat, except when I can't do that, because my boundaries are also very important for me.
You have to protect yourself.
I protect my mental health 100%.
And part of how you show that support is through all our markets.
Yes, exactly. So for all our markets, we're there, we're giving. It's 10 years of constantly giving, and I'm so thankful for people around me who believe in my vision. I'm currently doing a fundraiser, and so far people have been showing up because I'm able to tell my story. And I said, through me, there are so many people who, I have a girl who is on our group and said she's gone to the Onitsha Bridge like 5 times. She's bipolar, she has a child, she's pregnant again, and you know, she's going through it. And for that, mental is expensive. Admission for a day is about 100,000 to 150. How many people can afford that? Therapy is 30,000 for a day, and you have to go through like 6 weeks of it. How many? Is it
even a day? It's for like an hour, right? For like
an hour,
a session.
exactly. How many
some
people
people
can?
even do 45 minutes.
So it's expensive, and then you know, I think being empathetic, asking, how are you? That question, stop allowing people to just say they're fine. Sit down and sit with them. And even if they don't want to talk, just being right there beside them and just telling them you understand. I know that you're going through stuff and I'm right here for you. I want to hold your hands. Whenever you're ready to open up, it's fine. That's enough, giving people a hug, because that hug, sometimes you just think is a hug. Before when you hug somebody, the person is already crying, and and that's even a way that
I've experienced that.
That's a way that my husband always regulates my emotions. When he sees that I'm already everywhere, he just gives me this long hug, and next thing I'm just bawling, because I can't even. I don't even, exactly. Yes. I don't even know. If you ask me what's wrong with me, I don't know what it is, So those are simple ways that you can. But I think that question, genuinely asking someone how you are, how are you feeling, how do you feel today? Did you wake up right? Tell me how you're feeling. I remember my son spoke to my husband one day and he was like, Daddy, how is your life? And he made us laugh, but it was an important question, because really, how is your life, man? How is your life, sir? So for me, it's just those, simple, because really, life can be a lot. Life can be everything. You think it's just a 3-year-old asking that question, or maybe he's saying something with his daddy and he's like, okay, Daddy, what's going on? How is your life?
I think that is it's very necessary to have these conversations. Exactly. And I'm very passionate about it, because I was sharing with you off camera about how I think it was even in the COVID year. COVID year was great for you, but it was very uncomfortable for me, because that was the year that I realized that what I had been feeling, that physical symptom that I had been feeling, wasn't just my chest hurting, that was actually panic attacks. And in that season, when you made reference to hug, I remember one day going to see my friend, and everyone was isolating. People were not supposed to be talking. She looked at me and she said, how are you? And I burst into tears. I think I had so much pent-up emotion, and she had to break protocol and hug me in that season. So there's so much. And then in that period, being able to go through those emotions, and someone is telling you, why are you sad? Just snap out of it. Snap out of
pray
what?
harder, pray harder.
So what do we say to people who think that for you to battle mental health is because you're not spiritual enough, you're not prayerful enough, you're not Christian enough?
Educate yourself. That is the only thing. You have to get educated. So mental health, most times, is really a chemical imbalance in the brain. And that's why you take medication for malaria. That's why you take, how many people do you tell snap out of malaria? How many people do you tell snap out of headache? Do you get? So it's also an illness like that. That's why it's called a mental illness. And then for that, again, a lot of education needs to be done. If you are going through it and you would rather have people speak to you in a certain way, I always open room for education. I always teach people, because, to be honest, not a lot of us know. And I don't get angry over a lot of things. If someone reacts a certain way, I believe that you're also projecting whatever it is that you might be going through. So why don't I educate you so that you can, next time, you won't make this ignorant mistake and go and tell somebody else who will slap your head. So it's better you just learn it from me now. So being able to educate people, because there's no hard and fast truth to
really, there isn't. And would you say that, your faith has in any way helped you process? Yes, you shared earlier that you've seen God in many moments, but did you have maybe like any guiding scriptures that sort of helped you in that season?
So I journal a lot, and every day, in fact, it's somewhere in the car. Every time my husband, I'm sorry, I'm such a my husband girl.
It's okay. There's nothing to be sorry about
my husband, everybody, even him. That's the way my wife's everybody. He goes to meet my wife. Please, just calm down. Okay, so even when I'm angry, when I'm upset, he annoys me. The next thing you see me, I just sit down and I write. It's my God diary. So it's like my letters to God. And then you see me, dear God, dear God, good morning. In my head, I believe that a lot of people don't tell God good morning in the morning.
You don't imagine, they don't have respect.
They don't greet God.
You
so
don't
greet God
Almighty
first. Oh, good morning, dear sir. And then I continue, and then when my husband upsets me, I'm right there, he will just look at me from where he is and he's like, what are you reporting to God to me about? For? And then he already knows. That's just like the protocol. That's just the thing I do. When you see me upset or in a place when I'm not able to regulate my emotions, the next thing I do is to write, and I'm writing to God, because somehow there's just that cathartic thing where you just put pen to paper and then you're just rather than me looking for something to break or looking for something to, it's like I might even tear my paper as I'm writing it, but it's just putting out those emotions. And I think that's one of the ways I've been able to establish communication with God. I used to feel a bit worried that I wasn't kneeling down to pray, until I understood that, prayer doesn't have to be kneeling down and actually praying. Sometimes God wants us to communicate in the most easiest way. And I think that's why a lot of Christians, or even people who believe in God, find it difficult to believe or to communicate to God because they feel like there's a certain protocol. There's a certain, you have to sing this, kneel down, worship. But my husband will always say to me that God, look at God like your father. You don't, if you have such a beautiful relationship with your father, then you should be able to approach him at any time, at any form, at any whatever it is you are. And even if that means just standing up and just walking and just saying something to God. Yeah, there are times when you need to go on your knees because, that one pass.
Prayer can take different
you
forms.
get, but
prayer can be journaling.
Yeah, but for me, it has always been that place where I sit down with my book and I write, and I just write. And sometimes it's the good days, sometimes, because people forget God when they're having it good, you get. It's always that. And one of the things that I would always say that has helped me in my journey, whether with mental health or even generally, is my attitude for gratitude. I derive.
I love it.
I'm such a grateful person, even if it is the most little things. I wake up this morning, thank you, God. I'm in this interview, thank you. Nothing is, I don't take anything lightly, because, it could have been someone else. It could have been anything else, but God gave it to me, or God made that thing happen, and for that, I'm always, always extremely grateful. And I've seen gratitude happen. There's this example or this analogy where, if you give your father gives you something, you say thank you. Tomorrow, he wants to give you something bigger because he enjoyed the way you told him that thank you. I've even seen it even in my relationship. My husband gives me the tiniest of things, and I'm like, God will bless you, God will bless this.
And it gives him great joy to do things.
You'll be very happy like this. Tomorrow, again, when I ask you, do it. So, that's a way I've learned, and that's how I've been able to communicate with God. Gratitude, number one, has been key for me, and I think that's what is helping me. I think I had to go through this because my testimony is shaping a lot of people, is shaping a lot of destinies. My testimony too has also helped me. It has helped my relationship. As I said, my husband is learning patience through it. He's someone who is aware, that realized that, this girl, what you're going through is not a bad thing. It's even helping me in the way that I have to be with other human beings as well.
And I agree with that, because in the days when I've had to deal with some form of anxiety and my mind has felt like a dark place, I remember that. For me, what had helped would be journaling, praying, worship, scripture. Just saying things like, God is my light. Because in that moment, you're not seeing clearly. Everything feels dark, and it just feels like God is my light, and God is one that will guide me through this. Maybe another day will be time for me to share my story. But today, I have enjoyed hearing your story. And I do think and believe that God wanted you to be here. So thank you for joining. In this jar are several scriptures. I'm going to ask you to pick one.
Okay.
And in that one, so consider this your journal prompt. And tell us what the scripture means to you, and if you've maybe had any situation where you can relate to the scripture, or what you think it means to you. Enough of the talk.
I kind of have an idea of what this will be about.
You do?
It's coming to my head. Yeah, don't worry. I'm sure it will be something that's okay. Arise from depression and and frustration in which circumstance has kept you. Rise to a new life.
My God.
Shine, be radiant with the glory of the Lord, for your light has come and the glory of the Lord has really risen upon you.
My God.
So, there was something I wanted to say that I had missed, and before I picked this, I knew that I was going to pick something that would be like this, and that's why I said it. Call me WOG, woman of God. So rising to a new life. I'm going to talk about this a lot of people run away from rest. And sometimes God needs you to be in a place of rest for Him to speak to you so that you can move forward. And I've been in that place. In fact, I'm still in that place of trying to rise above that and just appreciating my new identity and my new journey and rising into a new life that God has called me for. In fact, that's where anybody who knows me in the past few days, I decided to bring back Olama Cares because I took a pause, because I needed to reset, I needed to rest. I had been doing and just pushing myself even when I didn't want to do. But God told me it was time to just chill. and listen. Rest, Chioma, just rest. You know, and I'm in that place where I am rising to a new life. I have just started a new arm of Olama Cares, which is Ume. Ume means breath in Igbo, which is to breathe. So I'm giving people a space to exhale, to just breathe, to be, because breath is that thing that you get when you're born, and it's the last thing that leaves you when you die. And so for me, every time that you need to go back, you need to reset, you need to just breathe. I teach people how to breathe because I believe people don't even know how to breathe. In fact, that's why let's just close our eyes and breathe. Just close your eyes, take a deep breath in and out. In and out. So Chioma is stepping into a new life. Chioma's light is coming. It has come. And the glory of the Lord has risen upon me. And I'm going to shine that light to everybody around me. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chioma. Thank you for watching this video. If you're yet to subscribe, this will be a great place. Please subscribe, like this video, share it. Someone you know or someone in your community will need this.
Hi, my name is Chioma Fakorede, and I am seated at his right hand.